You've probably seen the ads. Make over $4,000 in 3 weeks. That's what the Michigan Sugar Beet Harvest promises. They call it the perfect short-term gig for RVers and work campers. 18 to 21 days, 9-hour shifts, overtime pay, and an easy way to boost your travel fund. Well, I just finished working the 2025 harvest through Express Employment Professionals, and I'm here to share the real story. The good, the bad, and what you absolutely need to know before signing up. So let's talk about what really happened once we got there. Now, we were told to arrive on October 14th at the company-provided campground. Orientation and training were originally scheduled for the next day. Now, that would have been October 15th, with the full harvest start on the 20th. Just before arrival, we got an email saying orientation was delayed for a full week. Now, it was set for October 20th. When that day finally came, we had a 2-hour orientation that we were told we'd only get paid for if we completed the entire harvest, even though this was a mandatory orientation and training. Immediately after, we did what was supposed to be a 4-hour hands-on training. That was just barely 2 hours. After that, we were told to go back to the campground and wait for a text message with our actual start date. That text didn't come until Thursday, October 23rd, and our first real work day wasn't until Monday, October 27th, 2 full weeks after they told us we had to be on site. I was assigned to the Meade piling grounds on the day shift. It's 6:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. There's also a 3:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. to midnight. I was a piler operator. When we showed up that first morning, they split everyone into 4 piler crews, each with a mix of rookies and a handful of returning workers. Only 3 or 4 people total had done the harvest before, and our site had just one first-year harvest leader trying to train everyone. And we sat idle until almost 11 a.m. on my piler before anyone could show us how to properly operate the machines so we could even start taking trucks. Luckily, I pick up things pretty quickly, and my tear taker, the person who pulls the beet samples, was in her 4th year, so that end did run smoothly. Once we got going, the first few days were busy. Trucks were lined up non-stop, but by the end of that first week, things really started slowing down quickly. By Thursday, we could tell that something was off. Fewer trucks, less movement, fewer hours. On Saturday, a Michigan Sugar executive showed up and told us that they were evaluating continuing operations. That's usually code for we're about done here. By Monday, November 3rd, the local workers were told that they were finished. On Tuesday, my piler was the only one still running, and by Wednesday, November 5th, the word came down. The 2025 Michigan Sugar Beet Harvest was over. Just 9 total work days. That's all we got. Now, they did bring in pizza the last day, which was nice, but right after lunch, we were told to clock out and head home. One of the biggest frustrations came next. And we'd all been required to commit to 30 days of availability and stay in the campground through November 21st. Instead, at the end of the harvest, we were told we had just 2 days to vacate the campground. Then, on Thursday, November 6th, the camp host knocked on my door to say that Express wanted everyone out by the next day, Friday, November 7th, because the water was being shut off and the bathrooms were being locked. So now, all of the RVers who had traveled from all over the country had to scramble to find new campsites in northern Michigan, where most of the campgrounds were already closed for the season. Now, the pay was $20.65 an hour with overtime after 40 hours. We did get one good week with 23 hours of overtime, which did help. They also promised a bonus, 7% for first-year workers, 10% for second year, 12% for third year, to be paid later in December. With only 9.5 work days in total, my earnings came out to under $2,000. That's far from the $4,000 plus that they advertised. And remember, most of us arrived 2 weeks early and sat unpaid the entire time. To make it worse, Michigan Sugar already knew many of the farmers had delivered their beets directly to the Sebewing warehouse weeks earlier, meaning the harvest was already almost 40% complete before we even started. They never told us that. Our piling yard ran safely thanks to the local team and the supervisors we had, but across the company, safety is definitely still a real concern. There was a fatality at the Meade site where I was at in 2021, and tragically another occurred at the Croswell facility on November 4th of this year, just one day before we shut down. Now, I can't speak for every site, but it's clear that Michigan Sugar needs to tighten up on their communication, safety training, and consistency across all of their locations. Now, not everything was bad. The campground, Stafford County Park in Port Hope, was beautiful. It was right on Lake Huron, full hookups, and about 16 miles from our piling yard. The management team and maintenance crew at Meade were incredible. They were organized, down to earth, and really did their best to keep morale up. And the weather, surprisingly decent. We stayed between the mid-30s and mid-50s most of the time, with just a couple of rainy days short term that went away. Anyone who's worked the beet harvest before knows that's a win. Talking with other workers, the general consensus was clear. The North Dakota and Minnesota beet harvest are run much better. Better organization, better communication, and more consistent work. Everyone I spoke with who had done both said Michigan was the weakest of the three. So here's my honest takeaway. The Michigan Sugar Beet Harvest isn't a bad short-term gig, but it's not what's advertised. The lack of communication, shifting start dates, and short harvest window make it risky for anyone traveling long distances. If you're already in the area, it might be worth doing. But if you're coming from across the country expecting 3 full weeks of steady work, it's just not worth the gamble. Now, they do offer $75 per day if you're called off from the harvest. This is after it officially starts due to weather, but that doesn't apply for waiting for the work to begin like we had to do for 2 weeks at the beginning. Many workers in 2024 only worked 12 out of 21 days due to shutdowns and never hit overtime once. So, go in with eyes open, be realistic, and have a backup plan. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button. It really helps info like this reach other work campers and RVers who are looking for honest experiences. If you're new here, I am the Roaming Dad. I'm a full-time traveler, certified RV tech, and full-time father of 2 exploring America one adventure at a time. We share reviews, travel guides, and the real-life side of full-time RV living. Be sure that you're subscribed for more travel jobs, work camping, campground reviews, and tips for making this lifestyle more sustainable. And if you've worked the beet harvest, Michigan, North Dakota, Minnesota, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment down below and tell us how your experience compared. Would you come to Michigan? What do you recommend? We want to know. Till next time, safe travels.